All right, welcome to today's webinar. We're going to talk about pay per sale, revenue share. It is still a new thing within the industry as a whole. So I'm excited to kind of chat with you on it, answer some questions that people may have in relation to it. We're not the only people doing revenue share, but we'll kind of dive into the nitty gritty points of it, the positives and negatives. There are positives and negatives. It doesn't work for everybody. But love to share with you some successes that we've had along the way. So overall, my goal from these webinars, we do these every single week. So every single Thursday at noon Central Time, we are on here. We're interviewing normally a different vendor within the industry, somebody you can learn some information from that helps better your business. So my goal for you is just so you walk away with something that helps better your business. So this isn't a commercial for us. I would love to just give you some ideas, at the end of the day. If you have questions, post them. We're happy to kind of dive into them as we go here. We're an open book. So I'm Sean Conners. I'm the founder and CEO of Contractor Appointments. We do performance lead generation on a revenue share basis for the most part. Michaella, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in the company.
Yeah, so my name's Michaella. I've been here for about 5 months now. So coming up to almost half a year, which has been great. I took over as the director of sales back in November. Really, my part in this company is just talking to new business, letting them know about our products, seeing if it's the right fit for their business model, and just creating a relationship there to move forward, whether it's with us or not. Just really informing you and letting you decide if it fits with your company and where you're trying to go.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty crazy. I think as you've been on these webinars a couple of times with us here now, Michaella, which I so appreciate. And you'll probably seeing her face more and more on these webinars as we kind of move forward. But I appreciate you kind of jumping on here with us today and walking through some of this stuff. So without further ado, let's just dive into the nitty gritty of it. So I'm going to ask you the question and then we'll kind of bounce off each other here. But just give a brief overview of kind of pay per sale and the pay per lead kind of models and how they differ from one another.
Yeah. So if it's all right with you, Sean, I'm just going to kind of start at the beginning and talk about the branches of how those are, because for us, it's pay per appointment versus pay per sale, and really how those differ. So as far as pay per appointment, that's the one that people are usually used to. Pay per appointment, pay per sale. That's kind of the typical model that most companies follow. So I think that's pretty straightforward. It's a solid fee per appointment. Obviously, there's returns for ones if they don't pan out, like if they cancel, if they're a no-show, if their information's incorrect, if it's a duplicate. So I don't think I need to jump in there very deeply, since that's what most people know. But pay per sale is a little bit different. It's exactly like it sounds. It's actually a revenue share for the ones that turn into a net close. And so for us, that's for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, bath, and solar. And you're only paying on the ones that turn into that net close. So do you want me to jump into percentages, or would you like me to start with how we're getting our leads?
Yeah, I think we'll get into that for sure. I think Michaella and I have had these conversations so much that it is, I think we've narrowed it down pretty simply for everybody, because it is really just as simple as it sounds. So I get, if you have deep questions that you want to get answered here, we'll definitely dive as deep as you want to. So make sure you ask questions along the way. But obviously the traditional model that we see, so we've been doing pay per appointment for years. So since we started back in 2014, we were selling appointments. We weren't selling leads to companies on that side of things, because we wanted to get one step closer in a consumer's experience, and it was one step closer in a better qualified lead, someone who actually said, yes, I want an appointment. But really out there, obviously the majority of the industry is still on a pay per lead model. So it's really, you're buying leads for $40 a piece. You're buying them for $120 a piece from like some of the bigger players out there. As Alan mentioned with Angie. So, they're expensive. You said, Angie, you're buying 3 leads a day, but they're $300 each. That's legitimately what's kind of in the marketplace right now, is that, and those are shared 4 times on average. We kind of made the pivot and stance. Our differentiator has always been kind of consumer choice on the appointment side. So if a homeowner wants to book only one appointment, we only send that appointment over to one contractor. If they want to book two, if they want to book three, they can book three, up to three estimates. So we've kind of capped it out at that three contractors, because it just gets messy. As a consumer, I feel like we always look at it through the consumer lens anyway. I think the lead generation industry as a whole is kind of, we have to keep the end consumer in mind at the end of the day. But just like you said, Michaela, the pay per sale model is exactly how it sounds. You pay for the sales that are actually turned into business for you, and that's where we kind of partner. So, kind of diving into some of more of the nitty gritty of some of the stuff here with you is like how companies always ask us, and the question often comes up in our Q&A here, is just how do we kind of relay sales information or disposition information? So in the traditional lead gen space, it's kind of like, well, I just buy the lead and I tell you if it's bad, right? I return the lead if it's bad, but how do we know if it's good, and how do we work together with companies to make sure they're taking 10 leads or 100 leads or 100 appointments, and how do we know if what's turned into an end sale?
Yeah, so everything is really done through our dashboard. So we've put together a really, really simple but cool dashboard. It's almost like a mini CRM for our contractors, and it's very user friendly, which is what I love about it. So within there, we're going to post the lead data, and then within that data, there's a spot where you can put the sale amount. There's a note section where you can give us feedback. And then there's some drop downs, and that's really where you're going to be dispositioning everything, where you're going to put your data. So under that drop down, there's a confirmed status where you've just called to confirm the appointment with the customer. There's a no bid status. That's really if they don't fit within your guidelines, or for whatever reason you never gave them a bid. It's really easy. You just put it in no bid. There's a bid working for those that you've already given the bid. You're in negotiation phase. There's bid lost when you don't get the sale. And then there's a hired status. And that hired status is really how we're tracking what payments are, what you sold everything for. So once you move it into hired status, that actually triggers our system to pull payments on that Friday. And so once your post-rescission period, if there's any financing that's involved, once financing's approved, that's when you're going to drop it down to that hired status. And that's how we know. And that little amount where you can update the sale amount, that's how we know what we're pulling from. So it's a lot of trust built there. It's a really good partnership. We're trying to create a long-term partnership with you. And so obviously we have fail safes in place to make sure if you're getting a ton of sales and not reporting any of them, we're going to pause your account. We're going to reach out. We're going to have a conversation about it. But really, it's worked really well, just being able to create that trust and that partnership that way, and making it a really simple way for you to be able to update those sales.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, just to kind of riff off that, is we've got a dashboard that most everything's reported through. And what's really cool about it, I think, it's like, to report sales is one thing, because that's just like the end, like everyone wins right there. But the problem we found when we were just selling leads as a lead provider was just like, we would get all these leads in the door, and you'd only tell us the ones that were bad. But there's a lot of them that are like, well, they're bad, but not really like bad. They were just miscategorized. Or we can't do that type of window, or we don't do the full bathroom, or whatever those individual things are. That feedback helps determine the leads that you can get, or working with your the account manager to try to get the right leads to you. In addition to that, when you're marking down as you're not able to contact that customer, because we're setting you over a soft set of an appointment, which we'll get into here in this. But if your dispositions, we will actually help you get back in the door or get back in contact, because there's a large portion of leads that we saw last year, even in the industry at large, that companies were having a hard time getting a hold of. We got a hold of them. We got them even booked into an appointment, but you weren't able to contact them because your phone was coming up as spam likely, or they just weren't ready for a phone call, or whatever it is from you at that time. You just didn't catch them at the right time, whatever that looks like. So we can actually help and kind of do a co-assist in helping you get back in the door with that lead. Let's dive into that a little bit here, just to kind of talk about how we kind of hand over a customer we even do this with some of the largest window companies, the brands in the country, some of the largest solar companies in the country, is this kind of soft set appointment versus just a raw lead. So Michaela, if you might just share a little bit about that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So to kind of start the beginning from there, we pull leads from just about everywhere. I mean, we do our own sourcing, Google Ads, social media, etc., to get people over to us. We also work with publishers like Bob Vila, This Old House, Fixer, the forums on their sites for pulling that. And then we also work with other lead aggregators in the space as well. So we're getting a ton of this raw lead data. And what we do is we actually sort through it. We do a basic pre-screening on them. Our main goal with that is engagement, getting those customers engaged before we send them over to you. So we have a call center, but typically we do things over text. That's just the way that most people respond best. So we have a whole really cool text system in place that makes it really automated, but we still have people monitoring it. So if we need to jump in, we can. And basically, we're reaching out to those homeowners. We're confirming that they're interested in the project, that they're not just interested in a free government program. We confirm basic information like their name, phone number, address, email. We also confirm that they are the homeowner. And then from there, we're giving them general dates and times that our contractors are available. And all of that is branded to the contractor. So the homeowner knows who they're booking with. They get to choose their preferred date and time. And then from there, we set the expectation with the homeowner that it's a preferred date and time. We're sending the preferred date and time over to that contractor, and the contractor will call to confirm. So at that point, the homeowner should be expecting a phone call. We set that expectation with them. At that point, we send it over to you, but post in our CRM. And if you have a CRM, we can actually post to most of those as well. We integrate with most. And it just comes over as that soft set appointment. And so from there, you're working it just like you would any other lead. You're calling, you're confirming that appointment time. Since it is that soft set, if you need to work something out with the homeowner to move that around, you have that flexibility to reschedule it with them. And then from there, you run the appointment like normal and hopefully get the sale.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really move that to that model for a couple different reasons. But I think the most important thing that we kind of value within the industry is really from a consumer's experience. Again, when we partner with most of our contractors on a revenue share, it's like if we talk about a customer and their likeliest path to sign up and actually choose a contractor, if we make that consumer's journey as frictionless as possible, they're more likely to choose one of the contractors that they used our platform to do. So I think the biggest thing that we're trying to accomplish there is one, give the consumer choice, making sure that we're getting a consumer's intent in that, that process that they want to book an appointment with you specifically, but also making sure that, if we're just sending over lead information to you and distributing that 3-4 times, without that homeowner, and then they just get their phone. Everybody calls them at the same time. It's a horrible experience from a homeowner. So we're being one source of contact for them. And then we're able to, only when they consented, actually send that over to our contractor. So it's almost like a double opt-in of a consumer journey there. So because that's what most homeowners are kind of expecting when they fill out even some random form on the internet looking for solar or looking for roofing, is they want to know what does this cost? I mean, they're coming in from a variety of different advertisements that are out there. Let's be honest, we've all seen pretty crappy advertisements that affiliates run to different publishers. So it's all about kind of just making sure we kind of be that intermediary screen for those expectations to make sure we can try to relay the message there too. So that's a big portion of it. So that's why we do even the set appointments for most people. We can provide leads on a pay per sale model, but I mean, really, since Michaela's joined our team here, we have really pushed our customers to these preset appointments, and even our largest clients, like I said, we've moved over to preset appointments for contact rates too, because these are already people who are engaged with us here as well. Andrew, you had asked about, do we assist with your online presence so that we both benefit from an increased sale? That is a really good question. We are in the process. So our kind of flagship B2C brand for homeowners is just in the process of kind of being built out and currently being built over slowly over the last year and a half, called Cost Guide. and we have contractor profiles on there. So we are working at that exact problem, at that exact solution, because at the end of the day, the better that we can kind of brand your business and kind of set you up in the best positive light, the most likely that homeowner is going to choose you. So that's in all of our best interest. So we don't actively do that right now. We're working towards that. So, but honestly, the most of our contractors that are on our platform are bigger companies who, I mean, they have dedicated bandwidth to their own consumer, so if someone Googled their business, they're coming up as a really positive, light to them. So that we find that is a very good partnership, is companies who are been in business for a long period of time, who have an established brand, often do better on our platform because they've already kind of created some, their own, reputation management there too. A good question. So, I think one question when it comes to kind of reporting kind of back overall is kind of those, I think what people are so used to is just reporting back returns and all that kind of stuff here too. Kayla, if you want to kind of speak to that, like as far as returns go, bad leads, all that kind of stuff, how are those kind of returned and worked?
Yeah, so I mean, when we're talking about pay per appointment, it's pretty straightforward. There's a request for credit. You put in the reason why. That gives us that feedback. So that's all pretty straightforward. When it comes to pay per sale, requesting returns isn't really a thing, which is nice. Typically for folks, when it is a bad lead or it doesn't fit their qualifications, the best thing to do is putting it in that no bid status and using that note box to be able to send us a message explaining what happened with that lead, whether it was you called them 6 or 7 times, they never answered to confirm the appointment. That lets us know, go back in our system, try reaching out to them, getting them contacted with you. But if it's something like, oh, they weren't actually interested in the project, which some owners will, they'll book an appointment and then realize after that they don't actually want that, and that happens. So when that sort of thing happens, just giving us that feedback in that note section within our little dashboard is really helpful. And then most of our companies will meet with their account manager on a semi-regular basis. And so just giving feedback and having that conversation. There's also a customer service chat room within your dashboard where you can let us know if you're seeing a trend of something. Please let us be aware. We want to monitor that on our back end within our affiliate management. And if we're seeing trends, we're going to go in there. We're going to do something about it. So yeah. It just helps us know who we need to work with, yep. And just be able to provide you the best that we can.
Yeah. And I think to second that here too, is we do have a pay per appointment model because not everyone's a good fit for pay per sale, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But I think the return side of things when it comes to returns is that we still want all the feedback, period. So call center disposition data, all of that information, your CRM dispositions, all of that information is super helpful to kind of that tells the story of the why the end result happens. There's always precursors there. So a set appointment is just that it's like, again, a preset. We have funnel metrics to know how many of those soft sets should turn into an actual set, to an issued, to a demo, to a net sale, gross sale and net sale. And that's different per product, per geographic area, all of those factors. But all of that at the end of the day kind of helps match you to the right consumer at the end of the day. And for us to kind of send the right companies, to that consumer as well. So, the next question we often get here is kind of who's a good fit for pay per sale versus just a traditional like pay per appointment model, and kind of walk through that. What we've found over the years. I think what's funny is Michaella's. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michaella, but I feel like most of our job when we're talking with contractors is determining whether they're a fit for pay per sale or not. We don't struggle to get new contractors to contact us. We struggle to we probably say no more no's than yeses about who joins our platform. So maybe you want to kind of share a little bit about what is a good partnership and what for pay per sale versus pay per appointment or nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I'm doing my sort of screening process to figure out where they're going to fit on our dashboard, it's really looking at their processes and their systems. And so for pay per sale to be a good fit, typically it's like our regional or enterprise companies, but there are definitely some small businesses that still fit the ticket. So that's not like an automatic no. But really the systems that we want in place is we want to see that there's a CRM that you're using, being able to track that lead data and just be able to use that to really help monitor that data, having individual folks to be able to call and confirm the appointments, whether that's a call center or if you just have a couple of folks in the office that are outside of your sales reps. That way, speed to lead is really important, especially with pay per sale. Obviously, it's important across the board, but especially with pay per sale. And so if you're having your reps that are out in the field calling on these appointments, the issue with that is if they're in an appointment and they're out in the field and you get this lead in, that could be 3 or 4 hours before they ever even get to touch it. So really just making sure that you have a CRM, you have those processes in place, you have folks that can call and confirm those appointments, you have the amount of sales reps that are needed to be able to go and run those appointments once they are set. Those are some of the big things that I'm looking for when I'm doing that screening out. It's just with pay per sale to work right, to be able to benefit both of us. Those are things that need to be in place. Pay per appointment, I still like to see some of those things in place because I still want you to have that benefit. I still want you to be able to work it well. But we have a little bit more flexibility with pay per appointment. So typically my smaller companies are on pay per appointment. It just works well with them. They can cap the amount of appointments they receive a day. That way they're not overloading themselves. And it works better overall. So jumping into that a little bit more to get a little bit nitty gritty here, everything within our platform is ranked on revenue per lead. So the amount of sales fees you generate for us divided by the amount of leads we send you. And that's why with pay per sale, since you're not getting a set amount that you're paying for each appointment, you're only paying on what you sell. That's really going to reflect on your revenue per lead. And if your revenue per lead doesn't compare with who's in your market, then you're just not going to receive the amount of leads that you want. And so that's why when I'm talking about some of the smaller businesses that can't take on quite as many leads a day, at least they have that set amount that they're paying for each lead. That way they still have the chance to compete within that market.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's one thing we've kind of found over the years, just to kind of second that, is honestly, there are more people who are interested in purchasing leads than really should be purchasing leads. And just as Michaella said, we do a lot of, again, we've made the mistake as over the last 8 years, 9 years now of just signing up anyone who wanted to purchase leads or appointments. And honestly, most companies are not ready to do that. Online lead is somebody who, you have to have your business completely set up, surrounded around generating and running online leads to make that really work. If you haven't had success in online leads in the past, that's a red flag for us, because what we do is not different of a lead. It's an appointment versus a lead, but it also costs more because it's an appointment, not a lead. But I think the biggest thing at the end of the day is making sure that you have the systems and the process and your expectations ready for converting that. And we want to make sure that of the companies who join our platform, our retention rate is phenomenal across the board, because we want to be as honest and open about what expectations you have. So we're not going to sugarcoat the quality or all that kind of stuff, because that's the benefit of pay per sale. It's at the end of the day, the sales speak for themselves, and we're all in it to kind of win in that regard. So Carlos asked, they're working with a different company on a revenue share provider. To be honest, when we launched pay per sale overall, I only knew of one company that did revenue share. It was the most giant risk of our entire business model to go and be like, are people actually going to pay us? Are they going to be honest with the reporting their sales? And so it was a big risk for us on that stuff. It has become more popular over even the last couple of years. There's a handful of other companies who, and even big lead generators, if you really poke and prod at them enough and you threaten to leave their platform, some of them will turn into a pay per sale relationship with you just to keep you on. So there's some leverage right there for you to be able to go to your provider. We by no means are we want to be an exclusive provider for our contractors. Most of our contractors have 20 sources. We're just one of them here too. So I highly encourage that you kind of push into your lead generators to like share the risk on that stuff. But every company does things a little bit different. So I'm not quite sure how they specifically do rev share. All of ours is just off net sales at the end of the day. Some companies collect that at different periods of time, but most often pay per sale is pay per sale. So the Tiffany asks kind of reminder of what we could charge per what we count as an invalid lead, and how many times we're required to reach out. They track everything, but they only have one person in the call center at the moment. So you want to answer that one, Michaella?
Yeah. So
we don't actually do pay per lead. We won't send leads. It would be appointments, but.
Yeah. So on the pay per appointment route for a credit to be approved, it's really ones if they end up canceling their appointment with you, if they no-show their appointment, if their information is invalid. So if they give the wrong address, wrong phone number, you can't reach out, etc. If it's a duplicate lead. So if we've sent it before recently, that's one thing. And also if you had received it from another vendor within recently, like I think it's within the last 60 days. Quote me if I'm wrong, Sean. If they had sent it to you already, that counts because that's a duplicate lead, obviously. And as far as reach out, and Sean, you can confirm this as well. I believe you have to call them 3 times and text them 3 times. And if they never confirm their appointment, in my mind, that's a no-show. We set the expectation that the contractor will call to confirm the appointment. So if they're not willing to answer that call, that can qualify as well.
Yep. Yeah, we our return policy have you with on our pay per appointment product is pretty good overall. Again, we want you to be able to demo as many of those as possible. Again, this is why we got away from selling leads and appointments and all that kind of stuff too. Is our goal is at the end of the day, everything boils down to revenue per lead. So if we, our appointment fees, if you're spending for solar, we're $350, but if you're returning 50% of them, like that's what we're expecting for every appointment we send over to you, is that kind of 50% of that. So your returns are kind of factored in there. So it's kind of a system that polices itself. And we're honest and open about that here too, of how we work that in that process. So at the end of the day, it's just got to back out to a marketing cost, whether you're doing pay per sale or pay per appointment. So, and as far as kind of talk, let's kind of dive into the nitty gritty of kind of revenue share percentages, kind of how that's set up per product here.
As far as percentages go on the pay per sale, so for roofing, gutters, and siding, it's at 12%. And that's going to be of the total sale once it reaches a net sales status. And then for windows and bath, that's at 15%. Same deal, the total sale once it reaches a net sales status. And for solar, it's a little bit different. It's a flat fee. And so for solar, it's $3,500 per sale. Once again, following the exact same guidelines as the others.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and just like that's what we start every company out as percentages. The nice thing, again, so small companies, those percentages kind of sound intimidating or scary or higher than you're normally paying. But for, again, most of our regional enterprise buyers, it's like it's about lead volume. We can pump quite a bit of lead volume to our contractors. And fees are, it's a question we always get, which I'll just preemptively answer right now. Fees are negotiable after 90, 180 days on our platform. So if you're just absolutely crushing it, and we split everything up by market, we split everything up by trade. So if your revenue per lead is just, and we're an honest, open, transparent platform, so we'll let you know that your revenue per lead is just absolutely killing it in this market. So are we willing to move down the percentage in that market? Yeah, we definitely can. I just to be honest, most of our contractors want more volume, and that's their biggest issue. So and that takes money to go get more volume for you too. So that's just how the nature of the business works. They like being the number one, they get more lead volume that way. Yeah. As far as like the paper appointment model goes, do you want to kind of explain those kind of fee structures? We already talked about kind of returns and not returns, but it's all the same kind of vein of of revenue per lead at the end of the day, but maybe you can share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so with roofing and siding replacement, we're going to come in at 250, as well as for window replacement and for bathroom. They're at a set 250. For solar, it's 350. We do also offer some repairs. So, for example, roofing repairs, gutters, siding repairs, and window repair, or like 1 to 2 windows. Those are all at $100.
Yep. Yeah, so we do get quite a few repairs on that side of things as well. So again, even some companies that are qualified for paper sale that we just, they're just not ready, or they've just started their business or whatever it is on that stuff. In some cases, we'll start them off on paper appointment. You disposition, you see the same dashboard, use the same information so that you get 100 appointments, and we find it like, man, you're crushing it and you're closing, 20% of these things or 15% of them. Are we willing to move over to paper sale? Absolutely. It's kind of the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day. And some people were willing to take the full risk on and just send you 100 appointments. And that's, a lot of money out of our pocket to be able to do that. We need to know that the company is going to be a really good on the other end of things to be able to close that. So it's easier to do that for us with the more established organizations. But if you're a new company, it's a good way to be able to kind of get in the door. Again, we just have open, honest conversations about expectations and all that here too. Tiffany, you asked kind of that you've been burned by some other kind of lead generators, so they're cautious about investing. I think at the end of the day, we're going to be honest with you about the potential outcomes. At the end of the day, I do not ever want to overpromise that our platform is better or our leads are better in any capacity at all. One of the things that we do on our platform and have always done is, like, for a paper appointment, we do require you to go and say, commit to 10 appointments. We're not willing to work with you unless you're bought in to at least 10 appointments, because we don't want to set up an account and onboard you and put all this time and effort into that. So it's kind of our screening way of kind of going, like, and you don't want to judge one appointment, is that going to be good? It's like, well, no, you got to meet with like 10 people before you go, this is working or it's not. But at the end of the day, everything is pay as you go after that first 10 appointments on paper appointment, if you go that direction, because we want people, your sales have to dictate whether this works or not. But any marketing thing, you have to take a risk. Paper sale, we're taking 100% of that risk, but we also know that the companies we choose to work with, they're going to be a high likelihood of working out. So that kind of answers, hopefully answers your question there, Tiffany.
And something, Sean, I'd like to just kind of jump in there really quick is when we're talking about risk, obviously with paper appointment, you're paying for those first 10 up front. And as you mentioned, you do pay as you go. But one of the nice things about us is you have complete control over whether your account is active or not. And so if you end up going with us and you absolutely hate us, or it's just not working out, it's just not fitting your model, it's not working with your systems, all you have to do is pause the account. We're not going to penalize you for that. I know that's a question I get a lot. And so I think that's really cool, is that you have that full flexibility to be able to pause it or activate it and use it as needed. Obviously, when we're looking for partners, we want long-term partners. We want to create that relationship, but at least, when it comes to risk, you have a little bit of flexibility there.
Yeah. That was one thing we added in quite a while back, but it's like literally on the top of the dashboard, you can pause. There's no ramifications for it. There's paper sale or paper appointment. Again, it serves nobody at the end of the day if you're not going to be able to run that appointment or serve that customer. So we're customer first, and we know that pushes down. So question about kind of HVAC additions, ADUs, just covering those really quick. Right now, we are only in 7 categories. We hope to roll out other trades here in the future, but those are really our 7 categories, like Michaella mentioned: the roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar, walk-in tubs, and bathroom remodels throughout the country. So those are our main trades, and that's what we're kind of sticking with. And then we'll add additionals as we kind of continue to grow. But we're all about kind of creating stability within those, those main verticals, those main trades, and then we'll kind of branch out from there. Question Carlos just asked about the percentage of the sale on bathroom remodels, kind of for full guts and renos, which is a great question. We have a lot of 1-day bath companies, 2-day bath, 5-day bath, all that stuff on the platform. But we also have a handful and a decent amount of kind of full bathroom remodelers as well. So what's the percentage? Is it different for each one of those, the bath category, or is it the same?
It would be the same. So it's 15% across the board, regardless of what kind of bath remodel it is, whether it's just the wet area, whether it's a walk-in tub, or whether it's a full gut and reno.
Yeah. Well, we find it kind of find as we go, companies go, well, that's a $30,000, $40,000 deal if I do a full gut reno. What we find is the higher the ticket size, the lower the close percentage. So when our average 1-day bath company comes in at like 18,000, 16,000 for a 1-day bath, those often close at a higher rate. And those companies are often have a sales, just a higher sales percentage because the type of company, they're not design build, there's less moving pieces there. They end up closing just a higher rate for multiple reasons. So it is kind of factored into that here too. Once again, if you're absolutely, we've got some companies who are just absolutely crushing it in the bathroom remodel space. And if you're number one there and your revenue per lead is $300 for every appointment we send over to you, are we going to negotiate and be able to do that? There's room for that with your account management team. So again, prefacing that with most of our companies just want more volume as they continue to expand. But yes, that is something that we can do. So no, that's great. So again, feel free to add more questions here as you kind of have them. I think there's, again, just to kind of reiterate, there's definitely other programs out there that do pay-per sale as well. Some companies who are like, you can do pay-per sale with like some publications now, some print publications, all that kind of stuff. Highly recommend you kind of go out and do that. We've heard some pushback from lead generators that they just don't want to take the risk or they're worried about it too. I truly hope why we're even doing live webinars and sharing this out there, and inevitably every one of these webinars, we have lead generators on here wanting to know what we do. We're an open book. We believe that this is, at the end of the day, the way that is the best for the consumer's journey and the best for the contractors that are out there, the advertisers, the contractors that are out there. So this is, we're doubled down on it. Curious just on your thoughts here, Michaella, any kind of main questions or things that you kind of hear from customers or, kind of people hesitation of kind of going pay-per sale or even on percentages? Because that's often we get a kind of pushback on percentages here too.
Yeah.
From a budget. They're often trying to budget less.
Yep. And I would say that's probably the thing that's brought up the most is just they have a set marketing cost that they're trying to stick to. And usually that's 15% or under, somewhere at 10%. And I think it's just really important to look at it as all of your marketing sources and find the average between all of them. So why we may be a little bit higher compared to what you're trying to stick to, being able to level that out with canvassing and home shows will really even it out. So that way you're still kind of hitting your market target. So that's really my biggest pushback that I see is just it's above that, but there's some ways around that. And if it doesn't work for your business model, it doesn't work. We totally understand that too. We're not going to push you into it. We want to make sure that it's really beneficial for all of us. And so if it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make sense. And we're not going to be offended by that. Yeah. So that's one of the big pushbacks. The other pushback is that they're not exclusive leads, which once again, as you mentioned, that's really just having the consumer in mind. We won't send it to more than 3 contractors, but at the same time, the homeowner is 100% in charge of that. If they want to get 1, 2, or 3 bids, that is their choice. We're making it the best experience for them. Mm-hmm. And that's why I would say the pay-per-sale model is really cool too, is just having that option. So I know that's a big pushback. We're not going to do exclusive. That's not good for the homeowner. It's not good for us. It's honestly not even good for you. So really the best way for that to win for everybody is doing that, giving them that option. I'm trying to think if there's any more that I really get pushback on. I know a lot of people want to be on pay-per-sale when they don't necessarily qualify. But really that's, like I mentioned earlier, since everything's based on that revenue per lead, if you don't have the processes in place to succeed on pay-per sale, it's only going to hurt you in the long run. and then it hurts us and it hurts the homeowner. So it's just not a good experience for anyone. And that's
Yep.
why we really push you to either go with the pay-per appointment route and cap the amount of leads you can get a day. That way you're able to fully work those as needed. Or it could just be potentially the online lead space might not be where you're at yet.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing I think I've seen you doing really well, Michaela, is we do kind of try to resource you if you're not there yet. You don't have the systems, you don't have a CRM, all that kind of stuff. With some of these tools out there too to help you get to that point. So I think that's our goals. Obviously, we want to help. We want to help you wherever you're at in business. On that side of things here too. But yeah, the one thing we didn't talk about is solar on pay per sale here too. The pricing when it comes to that. So that hasn't come up quite yet, but we work with some of the largest solar brands in the country on a pay per sale relationship with them. But we work with some regional companies here as well. So if you mind just sharing what those numbers kind of look like on solar and the difference there between roofing or the percentages.
Yeah, so with solar, it's a straight fee of $3,500 per sale. Really with that, because we're working with some of those large, really big enterprise level companies, some of their sales get up to $80,000, $90,000. And doing a flat percentage of like 15% on a $90,000 sale, that can be a little bit unachievable. And so really that $3,500 fee, it just makes sense with who we have on our platform from that point of view, where we're still able to get back the marketing cost, but they're not having to pay that outrageous 15% on a $90,000 sale. So it really just, we came to like an even point that just made sense from both sides.
Yep. Yeah, and solar is just different because the higher your ticket size, the higher your dealer fee is, and all that kind of stuff. The lower your margins, sometimes you have to throw in a roof to get that solar deal, and it's just a different animal. So we get that quite a bit. So Nathan, we'll kind of, if on pay-per appointment, you just want to kind of review prices really quick.
Yep.
Had that question really quick.
Absolutely. So for roofing replacement, siding replacement, window replacement, bathroom, it's $250 per appointment. For solar, it's $350 per appointment. And then we also offer repairs. So gutters, roofing repairs, siding repairs, and window repairs, or 1 to 2 windows. Those are at $100.
That sounds good. So yeah, and if you have more questions, feel free you can reach out to us here too, or go to our website, just contractorappointments.com. We're happy to have a conversation with you. But yeah, that's great. So any other questions pop in, feel free to throw them in here, or else we'll kind of jump off. But yeah, I think we're just an open book. If you have questions across the board, schedule a call. Michaela would happy to jump on a phone call with you and kind of the coach and to walk you through that, regardless of wherever stage you're at in your business. Yeah, Nathan, just another question. You had volume-based pricing. Honestly, volume has absolutely nothing to do with what our cost of generating more leads. If we want to get more leads, we actually have to go use multiple other sources. The cost of marketing actually goes up. So there's unfortunately no volume a discount on that side of things. So at the end of the day, every single project is our own. We rank all of our contractors based on their revenue per lead at the end of the day. Without further ado, I thank you so much for your time. We're so honored that you joined us here today. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or Michaela. Obviously, you can just schedule a call with her directly here too. Happy to have a conversation with you, any of you at any time. But thank you all for your time today.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, definitely reach out to me. Hopefully I'll be able to see some of your faces soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody have a great rest of the day here.